Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnana Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattamasyadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adoration to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as ether, infinite, eternal. Beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Upashama Prakarana, section 79. It is known as chittanash by Jnana. Destruction of the chitta through wisdom. The destruction term we have to understand. When you wake up, your entire dream gets destroyed. The destruction is not as real as construction. And just we have to always remember, maneva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. As long as the soul is evolving through the mind, the entire story of from bondage to release, all is experienced in and through the mind. The mind itself is negated completely, is not there. Brahman has no problem. Brahman is ever full. Don't believe it, you're a fool. Sri Rama asked, O sage, you have graciously explained the yogic method of destroying the mind. Now please explain the method adopted on the path of wisdom for achieving the goal. And sage Vasishtha said, O Rama, wisdom consists of a unique and deep-rooted conviction that this world is nothing but a reflection of the Supreme Self, who is without beginning or end. That Supreme Self is the only reality. First you have to let the mind turn its attention to the Vedantic statement, the world is like a long dream. The world is illusion. It is like a snake on the rope. Just as when you dream, nothing of your dream is real. No matter how positive, no matter how negative. And all things that go to make a positive situation, all those things, from a table up to the big building, and go on imagining all the things that you can acquire by your power and glory. All that is your own self. And yet your eyes get startled. This is mine. How do you prove that? Because when you wake up, You realize all that had happened in your own consciousness. And your own consciousness has been the reality. All that happens in a cinema show is an illusory modification of the screen. You are always looking at the screen. Projections are only illusions that makes the screen go through, creating the illusion of big drama. In the same way, pure awareness, absolute consciousness, viewed through a conditioned mind gripped by ignorance, that becomes conditioned mind. When there is a conditioned mind, there is a distorted view of your identity. Your identity is called Jiva, the individual soul. And its progress depends upon law of karma. So as a Jiva, you can go on creating lots of karmas and enjoying lots of fruits of karmas. But no matter how great you might become in the world, all that is illusion. Countless Alexanders have come and gone. Remember, Alexander was about to die. His mother was grieving. Then Alexander told his mother, "Don't grieve. I will see, I will talk to you even after I am dead." But there was a trick behind it. Go to my burial place on a full moon day and ask, cry, shout out, "Alexander, Alexander, where are you?" And countless voices began to speak out. There are countless Alexanders have come and gone. Which Alexander were looking for? All these are parables to give you some message. O Rama, due to the absence of knowledge pertaining to the self, if you have knowledge of the self, you don't need the mind for its operation. Mind simply vanishes. If the sun shines bright, you don't need a cloud to look through it to recognize the sun. Figure that out. By acquiring the knowledge of the self, one attains release from the conditioned mind. By the force of illusion, one sees a snake in a rope and becomes a prey to fear. But by the discovery that rope alone is real and the snake is illusory, the moment that dawns that type of insight, one attains freedom from that fear. The same applies to bondage and to release. When the innermost consciousness is freed of all impurities, it is called the Supreme Self. Here again, reiterating freed of all impurities. Here impurities are covering three things: mala, vikshepa and avarana. Mala is gross impurities, anger, hate, greed. Vikshepa is impurity operating in your subconscious. You don't know what your goal is, but subconscious goes on giving you so many ideas. And you remain trapped by vikshepa, distracted mind. And the source of all this, mala and vikshepa, is a veil of ignorance. Ignorance has veiled the light of wisdom. Remember the simile of mirror. Three things have to be corrected in a mirror so that you can see your face fully. One, mirror should not have dust over it. Second, mirror, your hand should not be shaky when you are holding the mirror. And third, your hair should not come down on your eyes, veiling your vision. Mala requires some effort to wipe the impurity out. Vikshepa requires meditative movement, how to allow the mind to stay steady, holding the mirror, not shaking it. Concentration. And profound samadhi leads you to enlightenment. Enlightenment is just like a veil of illusion taken away. And all this happens through your mind. Put it more in a precise way. Mala is removed by karma yoga. Vikshepa is removed by bhakti and dhyana, devotion to God and practice of meditation. And avarana is removed by jnana. So you are practicing integral yoga, turning your actions into karma yoga, turning your sentiments, gearing it to tune the movement with God, God's love. All things you love in the world, they are, the source of all that love is God. And in that process, when mind does not waste its energy, when vikshepa is controlled, you develop profound strength of will. And that becomes jnana movement. And jnana is an intuitive realization, a revelation, who am I? He who knows the self, for him nothing exists other than the self. From the point of view of Atman, there is neither bondage nor liberation. But viewed from the mind, conditioned by ignorance, the soul must attain liberation from the bondage of the world process. The entire story from bondage to release is in and through your mental process. And your mental process has to be subjected to spiritual transformations by removing mala, vikshepa and avarana. The entire mental process mental process is maintained if your soul is deluded by karma. Then the soul goes on creating karmic impressions. And led by karma, the soul is under the law of Brahma's creation. But when you move and progress on the path of integral yoga, there comes a stage. Your soul moves away from sakamya to niskamya. Soul develops maturity, a deep understanding that nothing can be gained by maintaining the cycle of birth and death. No matter how improved your world experience is, it is delusional. So therefore, soul is now blended with a mind, and a mind that has come to understand that the goal is not in the realm of time, space, causation. Goal is revelation of the self by removing mala, vikshepa, avarana from the mind. When a yogi enfolds the pure Atman in his consciousness, and that's what happens when you have removed impurities, distractions, and the veil of ignorance. You don't need the mirror anymore. The entire Chitta is not needed. Also understand the operation of your Chitta is through your brain and nervous system. So all you are experiencing is the magic of a mystic iPad. Very bad. A little stuff in your brain, a little change, and your whole body can be in a turmoil. And your whole story of your life, you suddenly forget who were you. Your close friends can be nearby, and you have no memory of them. It's the magic of your iPad. All the files you have created, and suddenly they are dumped. So all world experience is dependent upon your body, 5 feet to 6 feet, or maybe a little less. And the body experience comes through your nervous system. And the energy behind the nervous system is the mind. If you purify the mind gradually, great changes you will experience in your iPad. In other words, all your experiences will gradually move from tamas to rajas, rajas to sattva. And that aspect of your iPad is the purpose of your life. You are living in and through that iPad-based experience. Now, create those files that will pave the way to a state where you don't need the iPad, where you don't need the nervous system. You say, how can that happen? Fact is, every day you do it. When you go to sleep, you move away from experiences brought about by your nervous system. And therefore time disappears. All your story of life, past, present and future, vanish. And you are not at a loss. That's your goal of life. In sleep, it vanishes, but it comes back. With enlightenment, it vanishes forever. When a yogi unfolds the pure Atman in his consciousness, he is no longer drawn towards the pleasures of the senses. Just as a soft breeze is unable to pierce impregnable rocks of mountains, in the same way, the subtle enemies in the form of anger, greed, hate, lust are unable to affect one who is enlightened. Unenlightened soul is like a reflected sun shaking in the water constantly. The enlightened soul is a revelation that the reflected sun, Jiva, is nothing but the absolute sun. So when that knowledge becomes a steady deep in your heart, even though you dream, sometimes a knowledge that it is a dream enters your heart. Then what happens? Even though you are going through your dream, facing challenging situations, inwardly you are just a witness. You are watching a drama. Only you are not eating popcorn. I'm joking. But that's the advanced ideal. To reach the ideal, there is a progressive attainment. And then what type of steadiness one experiences? Here's a poetic language. Just as soft breeze is unable to pierce rocks of mountains, in the same way, all your experiences brought about through your senses, through your mind, through your sentiments, all become soft. Your knowledge, I am Brahman, is more than a mountain. That knowledge is not shaken. This again requires subtle understanding. Enlightened personality, his enlightenment does not exhibit through physical body. Enlightened one is light of lights. Physical body will age. So no matter how enlightened you are, you begin to shake as you walk. And you sneeze. And you are subject to death, no matter how enlightened you are. But these conditions that a sage faces, those conditions are in appearance practical realities. But from the heart of the sage, from that level, nothing exists. Nothing belongs to me. And all this is not going to in any way hurt me. All this may disappear. All the clouds may move away. The sky is not going to miss anything. This is the advanced goal, but the goal has to be kept in view, and your life has to flow through integral yoga with patience. Just as fish that swim in shallow waters are easily swallowed by cranes and other water birds, Jiva, that is experiencing the world process led by karma, that Jiva is allegorically described as a fish swimming in shallow waters, ever targeted by so many violent creatures. And that's the reality. All souls, no matter how fortunate you are, whatever you are, led by karma. From birth to death, you face challenging situations to such an extent that you don't know whether you will be even alive. And horrible predicaments. And all these karmic developments go on shaking your soul. So you're like a fish in shallow water. If you are enlightened, it's a different matter. In the same way, those who abide in the shallow desires for the object of the world are easily engulfed by numerous miseries. Having viewed the world as Atman, discover the fact that avidya or ignorance is non-existent. Ignorance is not something practical reality obstructing it. Darkness is not a practical reality. When you bring light, there is no darkness. Bring wisdom, there is no ignorance. But as long as wisdom has not blossomed in your heart, you are being led by ignorance, deluded. Thus may you abide in your essential nature and be free from the miseries of the world process. Be free from the three tapas, threefold miseries: subjective, called adhyatmic; objective, subjective means what misery comes through your body and mind; objective, misery coming from outer sources; adhidaivic, misery coming from act of God, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes. So, every soul is constantly facing these three types of miseries. And don't attain liberation, you will face again and again. Section 80. Spiritual inquiry that promotes vairagya. Now the path, gateway to liberation, one of the gateway important is vichar. Remember, 4 gateways: shama, santosh, satsang, and vichar. The eyes are meant to perceive forms, but it is due to identification that the jiva experiences pleasure and pain caused by the perceptions of the eyes. What you are being led is all allegorical descriptions. Your eyes go on seeing so many things. But your eyes don't stick to anything. But you begin to stick to them. Learn from your own eyes. Eyes know that all that lies are lies. All that lies before your eyes are lies. So eyes just go on winking. But your mind goes on thinking. This illusion has to be broken. Who is the master of your eyes? Now, if you are bounded by karma, then Jiva is the one that asserts, these are my eyes, these are my ears. But you are moving into spiritual way, integral, Godward. Then you begin to understand it is God who is looking through your eyes. It's God who is hearing through your ears. Who is the doer? Who is the enjoyer? Not you as Jiva. But God is the reality behind your Jivahood. The very same Jiva, being essentially the self, is not only the owner of the eyes, but also the owner of desires, karmic impressions, subtle desires, and their numerous expressions. All these are sustained and, speaking in a profound way, caused by Brahman. Brahman is the real cause. But cause here is through Maya, the magical way. This being so, why should the Jiva allow itself to be immersed in the perceptions of the eyes alone? So therefore comes your message. Eyes are one of your senses. Why should your soul be dependent upon sense perceptions? What you are hearing, what you are seeing, what you are smelling, what you are tasting, what you are touching. And that's what the world is. That's what you are experiencing day by day. As you become spiritually sensitive, you begin to recognize the role of the higher self, who is allowing your eyes to work. Your eyes relate to sun god. That again, all is allegorical. Every sense relates to a cosmic, divine aspect. Your karma brings about connection between your eyes and the sun. Similarly, led by karma, every soul is dependent upon sense perceptions. If in a vast army, a donkey accidentally falls in a small lake and drowns, the general must move on without being concerned. It's a crude illustration. If you march on to spiritual progress, do not go on counting every little negative thing that has dropped from you. That has been a donkey that slipped. So don't stop your march. Much in the same manner, with spiritual inquiry. In other words, once you open the practice of inquiry, vichar, your mind should not restrict your vichar by saying, but so many bad karmas. I have to go to the astrologers to see if there is some release. Then I will practice vichar. Otherwise, I cannot succeed. And not so. If you practice vichar, forget about all astrology. Forget about all your karmas. Forget about all your limitations. Bring the advanced truth in your vichar movement. Who am I? What is the absolute reality? I am neither mind nor the senses. I am Satchidananda. Aham Brahmasmi. The vichar movement must open the door to this revelation. The revelation is the highest. You are Brahman. In order to keep your movement towards Brahman, your mind should not go on sticking to your negative karmas of the past. Nor should your mind stick to positive karmas. Much in the same manner, with spiritual inquiry, one must not give so much importance to one particular sense perception and become identified with it, but rather move on undaunted. Further, when a person discovers his mastery over the senses, he is in a position to restrain the senses from undesirable objects. This becomes now what promotes your vichar, the sadhana, the spiritual discipline that develops vairagya, detachment towards pleasures of the senses. And once vairagya has developed, now you have no difficulty in restraining the senses. O eyes, why do you sink in the swampy lands of form? Now all these allegorical, but you can talk to your eyes. The beauteous forms of wife, husband, children, and other relatives are transient in nature. Why should you become deluded by them? O eyes, the objects of the world are charming only from superficial point of view. And that's illustrated in Ramayana by Shurpanakha, in Bhagavad Puran Putana. Looked beautiful in the beginning, but brings poisonous nourishment. All that you are seeing, he is talking to the eyes. O eyes, they are all that you see. All those objects, they are all hastily moving towards wide open jaws of death. All that you are seeing, in your time they are okay. But after you pass on, all that you have seen, even your generations, your grandsons, etc., don't care. They may be there in your record, but soon they will get bored and dump them. But in your time, it was so interesting. You had horripilation. All this is to create vairagya, not literally going after everything you see and dump it. O eyes, it is the self that illumines the objects without being attached to them. All the objects that you experience, they are reflections in consciousness. Reflections create lot of stories. The lake that goes on reflecting remains just the same. Your consciousness is like a lake. All your mental process creates reflections in that lake. You are aware of misery. You are aware of prosperity. You are aware that you are progressing. You are aware you are digressing. What's common denominator? Aware. That awareness doesn't go away. And that awareness gets distorted through your senses. Your senses bring about reflections, not awareness. And that awareness is called prajnanam, pure chaitanya, prajnanam Brahma. That awareness is Brahman. So you don't have to go long distance to find Brahman. Everything you experience, negative, positive, without awareness you can't experience it. But if you had the knack of moving away from reflections and staying with pure awareness, that knack is a result of jnana, wisdom, enlightenment. You have to completely move away from your iPad, your chitta that operates through your brain and nervous system. O eyes, it is the self that illumines the objects without being attached to them. Therefore, do not assert your own independent existence. A mirror reflecting the light of the sun cannot boast of its own luminosity. People say eyes are bright, but it's not the brightness, is not your luminosity of your eyes. It's the luminosity of consciousness. Thus knowing, even like this self, learn to be witness of all that is seen. All that is seen is reflections in the mystic waters of pure consciousness. O Chitta, while the eyes are gazing into the vacant sky, often there is blurring of vision, and the eyes perceive illusory forms swirling in space, forms that appear like the feathers of a peacock, or circular forms of various types. But knowing that they do not exist, you are not attached to them. Simple illustrations. You look at the sky. Sky looks blue, different colors. But you don't stop your your trip to your office. All that, you realize all that is not real. The sky is not blue. And the way your eyes are perceiving the clouds, etc., you have to go to the eye doctor. Everyone has some little limitation in the vision. And human vision is again extremely limited. Animals have different vision. They have different ability to smell. Some animals can smell 5 miles away. Likewise, they can listen to things miles and miles away. So therefore, you live in a world which is a magic display created by the limitations of your senses. You are never seeing things as they are. In the same manner, the objects of the world are in reality non-existent. Therefore, though the eyes continue to perceive them, you should not give validity to them. All that you are perceiving, the validity is Brahman behind them. Siya Ram Mai Sab Jai Jani. All that you see, the reality is Sita Ram. All that you see, the reality is Radhe Shyam. And in Vedantic language, all is Brahman. O Chitta, you are merely the sustainer of reflections. Why then should you become affected by the reflected forms caused by the senses? That's a question, and we have to figure it out. And with this we will conclude. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukuma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat. Om. We are offering prayers. May the Karunamaya Ras of God's grace shower over all. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukh Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Hari Om Tat Sat.